Hello and welcome to this little Christmas craft tutorial. In today's video I will be showing you how to make these, and I'm calling these handmade Christmas felt ornaments. Now because these ornaments are handmade, they are not supposed to look perfect and pretty. I think their originality and quirkiness make them perfect just as they are. So before we move along, there's just a few things I want to chat about these crafts if you are going to give them a go. First of all, there is a pattern that you can download from my blog. It has all the templates for all of the ornaments. There is a link down in the description box if you would like to print it off. Secondly, a lot of the techniques used in this video are aimed more for immediate type sewers, so I'm assuming that you already know how to do majority of the stitches involved in making the ornaments. Thirdly, and I think most importantly, there are no rules in the way that you aesthetically make these. You can make them any types of colours you want, you can embellish them any way you want, you can make them absolutely crazy or totally traditional like I have. And fourthly, this one is a little bit off topic, but I just want to apologise for a few of the blurry shots in this video. I just find that when I'm doing a lot of hand sewing type shots, it's really hard to get things in focus. So I apologise about that, and I've tried my very best to sort of cut them out and show you the best sort of bits that I can. So enough of my chatting, let's get into it. So the first one up that we're going to make is the little Christmas pudding. This one's actually my favourite. This one is made by doing a really simple running stitch along the edge here and then doing a really classic blanket stitch around the edge. Firstly, cut out the two templates for the Christmas pudding. Fold a piece of brown felt in half and pin on the main pudding piece. Then pin the glazed template onto a small piece of white felt. Using fabric scissors, carefully cut around each template. Next, place the white piece onto one of the brown pudding pieces and pin it in place. With a needle and matching thread, hand sew a running stitch along the bottom edge of the glazed piece, securing the two pieces together. And don't worry too much about getting the stitches to look perfect. The more inconsistent they are, the better it'll look. Finish the stitch with a little knot at the back, snipping off the thread and then removing the pin. At this stage, sew on any embellishments you like to the front. I chose to add some festive buttons using matching thread to stitch them on. Next, take the other pudding piece and place a folded 10-inch length of twine in the centre. Then carefully place the embellished piece on top and pin them together. Begin the blanket stitch by burying the end knot in between the two pieces, bringing the needle and thread to the top. Take a small stitch to the right, pulling the thread through both layers and looping the thread behind the needle. Okay, let's try that again. Take a stitch to the right and then simply pull the thread through the loop that forms. I find that to ensure the needle always comes up through the loop, I hold the thread towards the back of the needle when pulling it through. To stitch around the twine, fold it over to the front, holding it down with your thumb. Make the stitch, looping the thread behind where the twine is emerging from the felt. Then continue on stitching. When you have about 2 inches left to stitch, lightly fill the ornament with polyester stuffing until it looks a little like this. Finish the stitching by picking up the first stitch made and making a small knot at the back. Next one up is the little wreath ornament. This one is super quick to make with its simple whip stitched edge. Now this one is a little bit imperfect, but that's okay, that's the whole charm about it. I've embellished it with some really cool little retro buttons, but it is totally up to you what you want to do. You don't have to do it this way. The design possibilities are endless. Cut out the wreath template using smaller scissors to snip out the centre. Fold a piece of green felt in half and pin on the template. Then with fabric scissors, cut the shapes out. On one of the wreath pieces, sew on 6 assorted buttons using matching thread. Next, place the embellished piece onto the other and pin them together. Starting at the small center circle, bury the end knot of matching thread and proceed to sew a whip stitch around this edge. Do this by pulling the needle through the 2 layers from the back to the front. Once you've come back to where you started, plunge the needle in between the 2 layers, pulling it through to the outside edge of the wreath. Continue whip stitching around the outer edge. Lightly stuff the wreath using a chopstick or stuffing tool when you have about 2 inches left to sew. Then stitch the gap closed, creating a knot at the back. Thread a ribbon through the center and tie a knot at the top. Then make a small tack at the back with matching thread to keep it in place. So this one is just a simple double-sided bird, and it is stitched together using the classic running stitch. Initially I wasn't going to add any eyes to this one, but when I did, I thought it just added a really quirky and cool nature to it. Cut out the bird and wing templates. Fold a piece of red felt in half and pin on the bird template. Do the same with a smaller piece of tan coloured felt and pin on the wing. Then cut the bird and wing out using fabric scissors. Lay out the birds so that they are mirror opposites, then pin in place the wings using the template as a guide. With the needle and matching thread, sew on the wings using a running stitch, remembering that your stitches don't need to be perfect. Once you've come back around to where you started, move along and sew on the button without cutting the thread. Secure the button with a small knot at the back. Then do the exact same thing with the other side of the bird. Sandwich a folded 10-inch length of twine between the 2 birds and pin in place. Bury the end knot of some matching thread between the 2 layers and proceed to sew a running stitch around the whole edge of the bird. Leave a small gap so that you can lightly stuff the bird, then close it up by continuing a running stitch and making a small knot to one side. And last up is this really cute Christmas tree. I've adorned mine with these kind of light bulb type buttons that I've had in my stash for years. To be honest, I totally forgot to add a star to the pattern, that's why this one doesn't have one. But if you have any star buttons or felt stars that are the appropriate size, feel free to add it on. And again, this one is simply sewn by using a running stitch. Cut the tree template out around its outer lines and then cut out the trunk. Fold a piece of green felt in half and pin on the tree template. Then pin the trunk template to a small piece of brown felt. Cut both of these shapes out with fabric scissors. Remove the tree template from the felt and cut it down along its inner lines. Pin this smaller tree template to a lime green piece of felt and cut it out using pinking shears. Lay this piece on top of one of the darker green pieces and pin in place. And then with matching thread, sew the 2 shapes together using a running stitch. At this stage, feel free to embellish the front of the tree however you like. Lay out the other tree piece, placing some folded ribbon at the top and the trunk piece at the bottom. Place the embellished front on top and pin in place. And then with some matching thread, sew a running stitch along the edges of the tree. Before stitching it closed, lightly stuff the tree with filling until you're happy with its shape. And finish the tree by stitching the gap closed. So there we have it, that is how you make all of these super adorable handmade Christmas felt ornaments. And like I said at the start of the video, if you are keen on giving this a go, there is a link down below to the pattern that is on my blog, which you can print out and use. So stay tuned for this Sunday, there is another Christmas craft video coming out, which I'm very excited about. If you would like to see that video as well as more of the things that I do here on my channel and you are not subscribed, subscribe! You are more than welcome to join me. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you another time very soon. Bye!